All right, this is a 2006 Ford Mustang. It's a V6, 4.0 engine. I got this car, actually, it was probably headed to the scrapyard. The engine was blown up. I bought it off somebody really cheap, and I put a new engine in it. And ever since I put that new engine in, it was a new used engine. I shouldn't say new, but new used engine. But ever since I put that in, it had been running rough. It would hesitate and stumble, and you'd be on the highway and you would hit the accelerator and it would stumble. I, for the life of me, could not figure out what the problem was, so I unplugged one of the upstream O2 sensors and the problem cleared up altogether. Yes, I had a check engine light on because I had unplugged the O2 sensor, but the hesitation, the stumbling, the poor performance, that all went away. And I had been driving it like that for like a year with the O2 sensor unplugged. One other code that I had was a P0452, which was for like a failed fuel tank vacuum sensor. This car has something called SFI, which I think stands for sequential fuel injection. And I think, obviously, like I said, I'm not an expert. What I think that means is that the fuel injection is running off multiple sensors. So the engine is looking for input from multiple sensors, you know, like there's an engine intake temperature sensor and like the MAF sensor and different sensors throughout the engine. Well, I think that because I have that bad fuel tank pressure sensor, it's trying to incorporate that into the fuel events. So it's trying to get information from a dead sensor and it's trying to compensate for that. And that could be part of the problem. And so I'm sick of driving around with the light on. Let's go look for that sensor. All right, the first thing I did was jack it up, put it on jack stands, be safe. All right, I'm under the vehicle. I'm just looking around. I'm trying to find anything obvious, like a tube that's pinched. Something that would, in my case, create a vacuum, so. That up there, I think, is a vent. At first I thought that was supposed to be plugged into something, but I think it's just a vent. Then I kept looking, and there I found it. That plug right there goes to the fuel tank pressure sensor. And if you can see, it is totally broken. That's exactly why it's not working. So I'm gonna pull this end of the harness off, or the plug off. I'm gonna take that in the house and see if I can repair that somehow. All right, here's the pigtail end. There was a little blue cap in there. I just used a little pick and pulled that off. You have 3 plugs in here. There's 3 plugs in here. I just grabbed one end of the wire with the vice grips. You could use the pliers, whatever you want. There is a little locking tab, so you need to push that locking tab back and then pull the plug out. There you go. All right, I have numerous projects going on, and I had a box of Ford wiring in the basement, and I found this plug. I had actually tried a couple other plugs, but the ends weren't quite the same. But I did find this plug, and I feel like the end is the same. And this, I think, came somewhere off the throttle body somewhere. So I'm gonna pull these pins out of here and see if they're the same. All right, I pulled the pin out of there, out of this one. And it very much does look the same. So you want to make sure you get the correct pin, otherwise it's not going to clip into the sensor. So I'm going to pull 3 of these wires out, put them in the old connector. All right, so I have all the wires in there. put the blue cap back on. Fortunately, the wires of whatever plug I had, it seemed to be the same. We had a red on the outside. In the middle, it has a red stripe on it. On the left here, there's a white stripe on it, and I believe that's very similar to actually what came off the car, so I should be able to match them up, because you want to obviously be able to match your wires up correctly. All right, let's head out and put this in. All right, there's the new plug. I made my connections. I put some shrink wrap on it. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back inside this plastic casing, and then I'm gonna plug it in. All right, for whatever reason, I could not get this stinking plug plugged back in. So I had to put a little zip tie around it. It just wouldn't click into the connector, and it's obviously the same connector I took off, so I'm not sure if it's just worn out, but anyway, I put a zip tie around it just to make sure that it was nice and secure. All right, there it is, no check engine light. So it is running a little bit rough, but I imagine it probably just needs to relearn some fuel trim levels. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert at that, but there is no check engine light anymore, which is fantastic. Hope this helps somebody.